Let's talk about sort of the wider politics as we sort of run towards the end of the year, right? There was this moment that people got very excited by today, which was Albo calling Peter Dutton a buffhead and Peter Dutton firing back. Of course, not. I mean, I imagine all of this is in breach of the non-inclusionary language, because there might be a buffhead somewhere that's actually offended. But roll the tape.
The Leader of the Opposition, on a point of order.
On relevance, Mr. Speaker. Well, hang on. Sit down.
I'm still hearing.
You sit down, buffhead. You sit down. I've got the
Leader
call.
Of the House
I've got the call. Sit down.
Now, of course, in part the reason that they think they can get away with that is they think that the ship has sailed, that they're on their way in, that everyone rolls their eyes at the government. Mark, you've sat in that position as the opposition leader and you've observed politics as well. Do you think that things look like the government's on the flush, or that the Labor Party's overplaying a little bit? What's your sense of things?
Oh, well, if an election was held on Saturday, Albanese would be the Prime Minister. I don't think there's much doubt about that, but the election's probably 6 months away. And, Morrison would be looking for a series of circuit breakers, the Christmas, New Year period, when people hopefully will have some normal lifestyle and holiday and rest away from COVID hysteria. He'd be looking for the budget at the end of March as a circuit breaker. And then the calling of the election, because, you do find the benefits of incumbency once the election is called. It's not just sort of a hypothetical thing in an opinion poll. It's a real-life choice in an election campaign. So, there's cross currents underway. Morrison doesn't do all that well, I suppose, if you look at the so-called Canberra bubble and the day-to-day issues. He's copped a battering, I suppose, most particularly with all the problems with the vaccine rollout. But as we come to the end of this year, he can point to three achievements, a trifecta that I think he'd want to get front and centre in an election campaign. The first is Australia's relatively low number of deaths in the COVID period. The second is we end the year with very high vaccination rates by any international standard, and we've got an economy, again, by international comparison, that's in pretty good shape, and unless they do something silly, will continue to grow over the next 6 months. So, that's a pretty impressive trifecta. He needs to get out there from his point of view. But Albanese, I mean, he's a card shark. He's a trickster at one level. Albanese, in his hardcore, heart-of-heart beliefs, is by far the most left-wing leader of the Labor Party they've ever had. I mean, this guy on border security and economic policy is way out on the left. But geez, he's done a very good job of disguising that, masking that. There's an adage that in the end the people work you out. Well, will they work out Albanese over the next 6 months? That's one of the big questions.
Yeah, correct. Well, maybe the Greens will help show the way on all of that as well. In the meantime, though, the media seems to be doing exactly what they did in 2019. They think the government's gone flush. People have already decided. So you get things like from your mate, Paul Bongiorno, who wrote this in one of the very few places that people read it. But anyway, the signs are that the Morrison government is decaying before our eyes, reads the headline in the New Daily, the Union Superannuation newsletter website. Governments are like living organisms, suffer from physical entropy. They have a limited lifespan and their end days are marked by a distinct decline in functionality.
Yeah, Bonge is a classic, isn't he? I did used to work for Bonge back in the day, and but back when I was worked in the Howard government, we used to flick on the Channel 10 news at 5 o'clock and watch Bonge, and no, that's the worst you'd get for the day. It was like Radio National in the morning and Bonge at 5 to know where the real loopy left was going. Look, this just confirms the point. I think Mark Latham's analysis was just so true that he's lived and breathed this, and this is a Canberra bubble thing. There's no doubt the government finishes a year in disarray. Parliament's a mess for them in these last couple of sitting weeks, but the fundamentals for the government are just so strong. And the Canberra Press Gallery just gets caught up in this malarkey inside that building, and whatever it is, the sexism and misanthropy narrative, as you say, and the narrative about all the people crossing the floor on God knows what.
Such garbage.
It's just nonsense. But the point is, you have a low death toll, high vax rate, economy going well, and they'll be projecting a path to go forward and bank all that and not upset the apple cart. And Labor, whether they want to or not, will be promising to upset the apple cart, because it's the Labor and Greens Express that want to shake up the country, and people in the end, if they're doing all right, don't want to be shaken up.